With all that down, let's get things started off with this, shall we? You know, James Gunn is not adverse to making stories about little and lesser known characters. Polka Dot Man, Guardians of the Galaxy at the time, for heaven's sakes. Well, one of the more interesting ones that they said they were going to be developing was a Sergeant Rock movie. Now, you guys remember Daniel Craig had been attached to star in it for a while, and a little while ago we let you guys know that due to quote-unquote scheduling conflicts, he had to depart the project and wasn't there anymore, which got a lot of people speculating about who could be Sergeant Rock next. Well, turns out it might be nobody, because according to Variety, in a somewhat contradictory thing, I'll get to that in a second, in their headline, Variety is writing, DC's Sergeant Rock movie from Luca
Guadagnino.
I always trip over his name. Anyway,
I'm just
Luca
gonna get a
G.
soundbite of it.
Luca G. No longer in development. Well, that sounds like the movie's dead. Well, when you read the Variety article, it's not necessarily dead because they go on to write this. DC's studio Sergeant Rock is going on leave, but it may not be permanent. The World War II picture, which Queer and Challengers director Luca G., which is what he shall now forever be known
G,
as,
baby.
was aiming to direct Colin Farrell, is no longer in development at the studio, Variety has confirmed. But reasons aren't creative. According to a knowledgeable source, the need for exterior location shooting in the UK required a summer start date that the production couldn't make, and filming in the winter was a non-starter. So the studio has put the project on hold with the hope that it can start up again in 2026. Though Luca G's continued involvement remains unclear. Okay, so they're saying it's no longer in development, but it might still be in development. They might go back into production in 2026. I'll say this. I mean, Sergeant Rock was not one of those, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Sergeant Rock was one of those projects that, you know, James Gunn listed off during his first big announcement of projects. I don't know if this was a high priority one or not. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, and guess this one won't go back into development at any point. I mean, it very well could because it is right in James Gunn's wheelhouse, but I don't think it will. And honestly, I was telling Rob before we started the show today, like this is one of those ones where I'm like, why a Sergeant Rock movie? How is this? Now, granted, I'm not in a position to know what maybe James Gunn's grander plans were moving forward. So like just from the outside looking in, I can't see why on earth you do a Sergeant Rock movie, but maybe there were other plans. But for right now, I'm going to guess this doesn't go back into production. I think maybe losing Daniel Craig was, maybe they just kind of really planned it around him, but then the Colin Farrell thing, I don't know. Rob, you hear about this big deal, not a big deal, and do they ever get this going again?
Look, I always thought this movie was a strange choice anyway. I mean, basically, Sergeant Rock is a movie set during World War II. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, okay, that's cool, but unless you have a hook, like, what's the movie going to be? You know, it's not Patton. It's not Saving Private Ryan, you know, and are people clamoring for another World War II film? I mean, I'm clamoring for Patton on 4K from 20th Century Studios. Please, Sony.
I was going to ask, do you have the Steelbook?
I do not. It's not. I'm sorry, but I do have the Blu-ray.
Glad we could cover
but
that.
I just think that it's in this day and age, making a World War II movie like Sergeant Rock is kind of an odd choice. But then again, Luca G has always done kind of interesting, odd things, like his Suspiria remake, for instance. So, and I'm a fan of his, and I figured if he's doing it, maybe there's something about it we don't know. But maybe now we're never going to know. Truth or dare? Either true or false?
Truth or dare?
Truth or dare?
This is true. This movie's never going. This movie's never going to happen.
Chris, I think we were all surprised when we heard Sergeant Rock come up. I mean, they did use him in the animated, what was the name of the show again?
Creature
Commandos. Mm-hmm. We did see him in there, which kind of suggested that we're going to move forward with it. So big deal, not a big deal. And will we see this movie happen?
I mean, down the pipeline, perhaps we might see this character again in another way, but I don't know about having a feature film about this guy. Because to your point, yeah, it is a very World War II-esque character, unless we go our Worlds at War.
Right.
Which also, though, the timing of those comics was not great because it was right before September 11th and had some iconography that was very, very unfortunately timed. So I don't know if that's a well you would go back to. But, you know, he served on Lex Luthor's cabinet, and that was how they kind of modernized him.
Sure.
So there's some things you can definitely do with him. And obviously they touched on this with Creature Commandos, but the idea of a feature film was always kind of odd and just seemed like a, well, you know, James Gunn's good at that, of taking a tertiary character and making us care about them for a whole flick. So why not? But it just felt a little out of place with what he was setting up. This feels like several moves down the line, not something you do with your kind of debut, if you will, with your characters.
Although the one thing I could see as being interesting about it is that in James Gunn's DC universe, superheroes already exist. So what would World War II look like? You know, you've got Justice Society members back then. I mean, I don't know how that's all going to work, but it would be interesting to see if there were superpowered folks.
Yeah, well, that's always been the interesting thing about Rock, is him working with, you know, there's a arc where he works with Bruce Wayne, who's undercover as a spy.
Right.
You know, he has ties to Amanda Waller and to the Suicide Squad. So it's really interesting to see how the government would play into that kind of ideology.
Someone on the live chat saying, can someone tell us what the plan is? It's like, the first movie hasn't even come out. The first movie has literally not even come out. Of course, you or I cannot see what the overall plan is.
Well,
yet.
it's
We
funny
gotta at least
because-
see the first movie.
We're always forgetting that Lanterns is in production.
Yeah.
So you've got Supergirl and Lanterns being made. So that's pretty good. I mean, for
Yeah.
a universe we've seen not a glimpse of yet, they've got 3 big productions going.
Yeah. Now, clearly, they've got their idea and their plan and stuff like that. And listen, James Gunn has already shown he is not adverse, which I'm very thankful for, to having the main kind of idea of what the cinematic universe is and telling disconnected side stories, which is I've been screaming for years for the comic book movie genre to do that, because that's what the comics do. So why not do that in the movies as well? Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? For now, it appears that Sergeant Rock DC movie is off, but they're maybe hoping to get it going again next year. I don't know. It seems like an odd character for me, but then again, James Gunn has brought odd characters and made them superstars. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.